Welcome to Milking the Franchise, the Cash Cow Chronicles, where me and Chris watch
movies.
Oh, that sounded great. Chris, how you doing?
Oh, Tanner, I'm doing good.
Yeah?
Yeah. Trying to think. The news you might be able to notice from listening is I got a new mic to talk into.
Oh, baby.
So hopefully you can hear all of the hacking and coughing and all the guttural nonsense that I do during the show in higher fidelity, you know?
It's very high fidelity. It sounds fantastic.
Oh, that's what I like to hear.
I was going to say, yeah, we're professional in a professional recording studio now. That was...
Ooh. Yeah, let's keep that lie going. I like that one better.
Let's do that. Yeah. We pay a lot of money to use this time.
Yeah.
An hour or two a week. Yeah.
Yep. We're in the studio where Jimi Hendrix recorded Axis Bold as Love, and they're wasting studio time on us.
Did you say Axel's
Bold as Love? Yep. That was how we were able to get this reservation, you know?
We made that joke and they let us in.
They're like, you guys have it. You have the it factor.
Funny. Yeah. Well, Chris, what do we do on the show, Milking the Franchise?
Oh, Tanner. Yeah, let's see. We pick a movie franchise. Right now we're watching our way through the Beverly Hills Cop movies. If this is the first time listening, welcome. We watch each one of the movies in order, and each episode is about that movie. So last week we watched Beverly Hills 2. This week we're going to be talking about Beverly Hills 3. And as we work our way through the movies, we like to watch any other kind of TV series, read any books, play any video games, whatever else that movie IP kind of got pushed into. We like to kind of explore that stuff, and we just like right now we're just living that Beverly Hills Cop life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
As you mentioned later in the episode, we both watched the pilot episode of Beverly Hills Cop that they tried to make. It was never technically released, but we found it and we got to watch it.
Yeah. And yeah, I thought it was kind of fun. So I'm excited to talk to you about that.
Spoiler alert, it's probably better than this movie that we watched.
And this movie I'm also excited to talk to you about for very different reasons. Yeah. So
well, let's get into it. But first, we got to go over last week's movie. So each episode, each movie, we make a survey, ask you guys to follow along, write some jokes, fill out a quick form, and we read it at the top of every show. So let's do that for Beverly Hills Cop 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Let's see. We asked you guys your favorite Axel Foley moment. This was divided the fan base, if you will. We had Johnny Wishbone. So, we've talked a lot about how every movie so far, the first two, have these Axel Foley-isms where he... How do you explain these? He pretends to be somebody else and he talks circular and fast and kind of gets people to do what he wants, right?
Yeah. A lot of times he make up a character, but yeah, it's just charisma and fast talking, and he's able to get in anywhere, like bad guy warehouses, police stations, fancy brunches. He just goes where he wants by just kind of talking over whoever is there as security guard or whatever.
Yeah, and so in this one, he told the strip club bouncers that Taggart was Gerald Ford, and they let him in.
Yep.
This isn't quite the same thing, but he pulled a fingerprint using super glue inside of a turtle terrarium, which I thought was insane. So yeah, a little bit of a split thing. We got a 4-way tie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of good Axel Foley moments in number 2.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And then we asked the favorite cameo in this movie. So far, they've each had a bunch of famous people like comedians coming in and doing little cameos, and Beverly Hills Cop 3 has some as well.
Yeah, we'll get to those.
Like the clear winner was Gilbert Gottfried, although I realized I misspelled it as Gilbert Godfriend. Or Gilbert
Godfriend. He's a friend of God.
And somebody had already voted for that one, knowing probably what I meant, hopefully. And then I went in and changed it, and it kind of screwed up the results here. So now there's 2 for Gilbert Gottfried and 1 for Gilbert Godfriend.
Yep.
Thought that was funny.
Yeah.
Gilbert Godfriend.
Good cameo. Fun to see him as a young man, because I just think of him as kind of a grumpy old man now. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think he is passed, but yes.
Did he pass?
I think he died a couple of years ago.
I believe you.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. He really is Gilbert Godfriend now. You know? he's up there in those pearly gates.
Hell yeah. And he is God's friend, because he's such a likable guy.
Yeah.
All right. So this question here has a visual part of it. We talked a lot about these dirty shoes from last week. There was a bunch of dirt evidence in this movie, and at one point, the cop who was shot, part of the evidence was that inside of his closet there was these shoes full of dirt. And like the scene is just like, it's like dirt clods in his closet. Somehow made it all the way into the house that way.
Yeah.
Did that explain
it? Way more dirt than would actually stick to a shoe. Like an impossible amount of dirt. Yeah.
And we kind of led you with a few choices here, and we got those votes, and then we had people write in some extras. So what are some clues you could discover from these dirty-ass shoes? One response says, that dirt came from a weapons dealer warehouse, obviously.
It smelled like weapons dealer. It must have. Yeah.
There is a massive mound of dirt in his living room. That's one thing you could figure out. This was the main clue all along. The perp's name is Claude.
Oh, like a clod of dirt.
Like a dirt clod.
Oh.
What are some clues you could discover? He can walk.
Checks out.
And he's half dirt, half man. So like swamp, he's dirt thing.
A dirt thing, yeah.
Yeah.
Or like Sandman from Spider-Man.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
This dirt bag. And then this movie also featured a sequence of crimes called the alphabet crimes, and they'd leave a calling card, a different letter of the alphabet, so they were able to find out where they're going next based on what the next letter in the alphabet would be. We like that idea. We asked you to come up with a calling card for your criminal organization. In the same kind of way. We got the hieroglyphic heisters.
Ooh, that's some good alliteration. Hats off to that one.
The Roman numeral ruffians. And the pictograph perpetrators. Excellent.
Good.
Then we got serial killer, but spelled like breakfast cereal.
Gotcha.
They leave the serial clues at the scene, of course.
Some like Captain Crunch, and then they crunch his skull. Something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then Count Chocula, they just like drown him in chocolate, of course.
Ooh, yeah.
Then the Dewey Decimal.
What a delicious way to die. What was that next one? Sorry, I was
the Dewey Decimal book robberies.
Good, yeah.
And then leaving an armpit Brit garbage pail kids trading card at the crime scene.
You need a bunch of armpit Brit.
Brit.
Yeah, you have to buy a whole pack, and you might only get 1 or 0 armpit Brits. That's commitment. That kind of criminality.
It's not just a garbage pail kid different one. It's the same one every time.
The specific same garbage pail kid card.
And then Yamaha killer. Only use things that Yamaha makes as murder weapons: pianos and dirt bikes. Is that all they make?
Well, I'm sure they make other stuff too, right? They make weird stuff though. It's a weird company.
Yeah, all encompassing.
Mm-hmm.
The Kirkland killer.
Ooh.
Then rate Beverly Hills Cop 2. Looks like about a 4 out of 5. Yeah. 3.75, I'm going to say, on average.
Yeah, I think I also came to appreciate that movie more after having watched this movie. Um,
Oh, definitely.
you know what I mean? Like there were some like
It's a
plot
great
holes or
movie.
whatever, but it's a pretty fun movie. And also, I think that was kind of the high point of the Axel Foley, Billy Rosewood, Taggart, like that little trio of dudes. Like that
Mhm.
was some really fun interplay in that movie, and I think it was even better than in the first one.
Yeah, I think
Um,
they had
yeah,
what made the movie work going again.
yeah,
You
yeah,
could say it's a rehash, but like this new one here that we're going to transition into now, lost a lot of that stuff. I would say,
yeah,
right? Yeah,
yeah. Well, Taggart's not even in it, and
yeah.
yeah, and it picks a whole new lane to try and tell this
Are
story
you sure
through.
Taggart
So,
wasn't in it? There's a cop that looks exactly like him.
well, didn't they say he like moved out to Arizona or something? They
No,
like wrote
yeah,
him out
no,
of the
no,
plot and everything. Yeah.
no. They did. I just the cop that they kind of got to replace him
Oh
looks a
yeah,
lot like him. Just
just
like
a different bald kind of white guy. Yeah, for
yeah.
sure.
Um. All right. So yeah, we're gonna talk about Beverly Hills Cop 3 now. It came out in 1994, and it's directed by John Landis.
Yeah.
So a pretty famous director.
Blues
Um,
Brothers and Animal House, both, right?
we've talked about him a lot. I feel like
Yeah.
on this podcast around the Ghostbusters days. Yeah, and he's directed other Eddie Murphy movies like Trading Places and what is the other one? Coming to America. So those were
Oh,
all
okay.
huge hits, and they probably. I'm sure Eddie Murphy was like, "All right, yeah, I trust him to make this one good."
Yep.
We'll see if that panned out or not. Um, although there's one thing that's kind of a hiccup making this movie good, Chris, and I think it's this writer, Stephen E. D'Souza. Does that name ring any bells to you?
Uh, I mean, I'm thinking like Sousa Marches. What am I missing with Stephen E. D'Souza?
Well, he did write Die Hard, so he
Okay.
wrote the script to Die Hard, and we've talked about him a lot on our Bad Movie Mondays that we do, because he has also written Street Fighter, um,
Oh, okay. Yep.
Hudson Hawk, and Knockoff, which we've watched, and Commando with Arnold
Okay.
Schwarzenegger, which I do love that one.
I do.
But
I love Commando. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, those other ones aren't great.
and yeah, it seems like after
Yeah.
Die Hard, it's all kind of downhill. Hudson Hawk, Ricochet, The
The
Flintstones, Beverly Hills Cop
Flintstones. Yep.
3, The
Judge
Judge Dredd.
Dredd.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
So,
Yeah.
you know,
So
his name really stood out to me. I was like, oh no, it's Ida Souza, because I have like, I'd compile the movies we watch on for a bad movie night, and I've seen his name come up so many times.
yeah.
So anyway, he wrote this, and where do you want to start with it, Chris?
Man. I mean, we're back in Detroit. So each one of these movies has started in Detroit with a crime, and this one is no different. So we see Eddie Murphy again as Axel Foley, the main character, famously from Detroit, and he's kind of like lining up a raid. And he tells his boss he doesn't want the SWAT team. They've got what they need, and they are going to go do this raid on their own. We don't need no SWAT.
So these guys, are they other mechanics? Is that what he said?
With him or in the warehouse where they're
I
gonna
thought
go
he
do
said
their
with
raid?
him, but maybe not. Were these just other cops?
Well, I mean, would you bring mechanics to a police raid? It's a different skill set. I'm not saying they can't do it, but
Yeah,
it's like
I
Armageddon.
probably
You would rather
misheard.
have miners going to do the mining on the moon instead of
Instead of astronauts.
astronauts. Yeah.
Yeah,
No, but I think he's there with other cops. That was my understanding of this scene. But
yeah.
they plan this thing out, and then we get a pretty extended dance number that goes along with the Diana Ross song, and
The
we get a kind of
Supremes. Yeah.
we kind of get a peek into this place they're going to raid is this chop shop, and there's a bunch of cars in there. There's people painting the cars, people working on engines, and then
We can't not talk about this dance scene though.
we can't not, dude, especially after we just watched Garfield. This was a Garfield scene.
That's what I thought too. It just, oh my god, it's so bad. It's just like, I guess the funny part of it is supposed to be that these large grease monkey type, like big fat guys, are dancing to the Supreme song.
Yeah,
Is that the joke?
that's the joke. It's a Garfield joke, dude.
It is a Garfield joke. Oh my god.
Yeah, yeah.
There's
But
some bad
it's like,
joke jazz in this as well.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. But we get like 2 minutes. Well, I don't know if it's 2 minutes, but it's at least a minute of these guys dancing and mouthing along to.
I was
Uh,
out. I was out on this movie immediately when I saw this.
it lost you here, huh?
Oh yes. Oh yes. I just
Oh,
adding a dance scene for comedic effect is never a good choice. That's like you have no ideas. You have no
yeah,
other ideas.
yeah.
Um,
It feels
dang
like
it.
they just had to get it up to 70 minutes or something. It's pretty silly. But after this extended dance break, we stay in the chop shop, and a buyer shows up with a couple suitcases full of money. Is kind of what we're supposed to think, and they're buying a truck, and inside the truck there's a bunch of boxes that are just labeled U.S. government, and so we don't know what's in there yet, but this is what the buyer is there to buy. But does the buy go down the way it's supposed to, Tanner?
No, in fact, the buyer causes a grease monkey massacre and
Oh,
kills all the mechanics.
it's the
And
greasiest kind of monkey massacre. Yeah.
the greasy murders. Chris, what were these mechanics doing exactly? They're the ones who stole the money or whatever's in
I
the
don't
truck?
I don't know if it even explains it.
Yeah.
Does it explain it? Like it's just like this is where this dude is the guy with this stuff, and they're selling it to this other guy. But when they come
Yeah.
in, like you said, it's a massacre. The cases aren't actually full of money. They both have assault weapons in them, and so they just kind of go around and kill all of these dudes. And then they even shoot the radio, so we don't have a chance to see them do like a Garfield style dance number to the song, which I felt
Uh,
like a missed opportunity from a filmmaking perspective.
I was at least hoping to get another dance number at the end, but unfortunately we didn't get that.
Well, they're all in wheelchairs at the end, so it's hard to dance for Axel Foley when he's in a
But that would
wheelchair.
have been funny.
It would
See?
have been funny. Yeah, bookends. Bring
Yeah,
the joke back. Mm-hmm.
every funny movie starts and ends with a dance number
Uh-huh.
that has
Yep.
nothing to do with the rest of the movie. Yeah, so they're at a chop shop. Oh, Axel Foley knocks on the door. I guess this was his plan, was to pretend that he had something to take to a illegal chop shop, right?
Yeah.
So he knocks on
He
the door.
tries
He's
to
like,
Axel is Foley his way in, like we were talking before.
and this
Yeah.
might be the only time he does something like this in the whole movie. That's something I want to talk about, by the way, while I mentioned that. Those are not in the movie at all, are they? The Axofoleyisms, they like cut them out almost completely.
I guess you're right. Yeah, because there really aren't that many. There aren't as many clues. Like the last movie was like a breadcrumb trail that you follow, where it's like one clue at a time, and he has to get into all of these places. So we get a lot of opportunity for that. But this one, it's really just Wonder World. It's the amusement park that he goes to over
And
and
people
over
like
again.
saying, "Oh, you're crazy. You don't have any evidence," but he just keeps going back. And
Yeah,
he's not really like lying his way into anything ever, which is a
yeah.
core character trait of this character, don't you think?
I totally agree. I mean, we've put in the last 2 weeks in the survey, we've had a question favorite Axel Foley moment, and it's just all that shit. So,
Yeah,
they moved away from that for one reason or another.
yeah.
But yeah, and even this time he tries to Axel Foley his way into the warehouse, but the guy doesn't let him in. It's not even an effective cop move.
It's immediately they say kill him, and then they start fighting, and guns start blazing, and
Yep.
they make a joke like we should have brought a SWAT team, because I guess they weren't expecting these people to be there, right? That's kind of the thing. They were just trying to bust the chop shop, and then now they're dealing with these other gangsters or whatever.
Right, like guys with guns, and they were just expecting, the chop shop dudes,
the mechanics, who like to dance and sing around, nice guys.
Right.
And during the scene, so there's a bunch of gunfire, people are dying, and towards the end of it, Eddie Murphy's boss from the first two movies, his Detroit boss, Gil?
Inspector Todd. The actor's name is Gil. Yeah.
Gil Hill, that's right. Okay, Inspector Todd. And he gets shot and killed. And Murphy sees the guy who does it, looks him right in the eyes, and he sees him and that guy will come up more later. I don't think we learned his name or anything about him quite yet, right?
Not yet. You're right. But Inspector Todd's last words are, "Axel, are you on a coffee break? Go get that son of a bitch."
Yeah.
Which pretty in character for that hard ass Detective Todd.
Yeah, and even at the funeral, which happens next, he lies to the cop's wife and says that his last words were about her, and she's like, "That doesn't sound like him." And then he tells her the real one, and she's like, "That sounds more like my husband."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never expressing his love for me. That sounds like my husband.
Oh, but before we get there, there's a pretty fun chase scene. I will say the action sequences in this movie are pretty fun.
Yeah.
And there's a lot more of them. It's a lot more action-packed than the other two movies. So he chases them down after the cop gets murdered, and he goes after him like he was told, and picks up this like red Porsche or whatever it is, some red sports car with only half of its panels on the door because it's at a chop shop.
Yep.
And there's a long shootout chase scene at one point. The airbag comes out, and he's like shooting around it and still killing guys. And they're just blasting bullets into this car to the point of, at the very end, it like falls apart.
So many bullets. It's like stormtrooper level shooting.
This movie has a lot of that where he's getting shot around and nothing is hitting him kind of thing.
Yeah. But they kind of play it up for like a laugh here because you see like so many bullets, and then the hood of his car pops off and flies off the car, and then so many more bullets, and then the windshield pops off and he like shoves it out of the way. And then the same thing happens with the passenger seat.
Yeah.
And that one was where I was like, okay, this is actually kind of funny now. The first two, I was like, oh, this is just me too. It was so silly.
It's just like they directed the fire onto the passenger seat and it flies out the door, and Eddie Murphy's kind of looking at it like, I don't know, comedically, I guess. Comedic reaction. But how does that end? The car falls apart and he gets out and they get away.
It like disintegrates. It falls to pieces and kind of crashes into like a fire hydrant or like a building. And Axel gets out of the car, but before he can go chase him by foot, a couple like federal officers step in. And we'll see them later in the movie, but they basically tell him, I get it, this guy killed your boss, but we're after a bigger fish. We need you to not screw up our investigation.
It was a very like, how did they know he was going to be right there, right when he was kind of moment,
Yeah.
They just happened to show up right when his car disintegrated and they were there. And they knew that, like, they wanted the guy to escape so they could follow him further. They didn't want Axel to actually catch them right here because they want to find out who they're then selling to.
Yes. My guess is that the feds were watching the chop shop or something, and then when all this happened, they kind of followed with. But they want him out of the way so they can go after this, federal level crime that they're investigating.
Yeah. And then he gets his first clue at the crime scene. They took guns out of a briefcase that for some reason had Wonder World hotel towels in it.
What a stupid...
So dumb.
Like, it's a good clue and it points right where it needs to point, but like it's... What idiot would put towels from where you are stationed? Yeah, just absurd.
Makes no sense. Why do you even need a towel?
I don't know.
What's the towel for?
A gun can just go in a briefcase, I think. I don't own a gun or a briefcase, but I imagine that
why not?
Yeah.
He gets that, and Wonder World is, as we're going to find out, a theme park in Beverly Hills or California somewhere.
Yep.
In the LA greater area. So that's where he goes.
But before we go there, though, they got Al Green to sing "Amazing Grace" at the funeral. There's a quick funeral.
That was Al Green.
That was Al Green. Yeah,
I paused it.
I was like, this. Yeah, I said it on Amazon.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, but yeah,
you sure it wasn't like, Fred Asparagus?
My favorite crooner from the 70s, Fred Asparagus.
There's somebody in the IMDb named Bobby. He plays the character Bobby, and his name is Fred Asparagus.
Sorry, that's a name. That is a name. Yeah.
I assumed it was the singer, but guess not.
Yeah. But now I'm ready to head out to Wonderland or Wonder World.
Yeah. The first of many cameos in this movie, or at least several, maybe not many. But yeah, what happens when he gets to LA, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, he gets out there. We get our first playing of the Axel F theme. A real touch point for this movie series is that one song that kind of goes throughout these movies. And he shows up in Beverly Hills, and he can't figure out the automated teller machine, so just leaves his car, but goes into the police precinct to meet up with his homies. He has made friends with Billy and with Taggart over the first two movies. And like we said before, no Taggart in this movie, but he does go meet up with Billy. And do you want to update us on Billy? What's he up to these days?
He's been promoted to some position that I won't be able to remember. It's like 10 letters or 10 words long.
Which is the joke.
Which is
that
the
he
joke.
works for this like long BOOLHPFC, KFC organization.
Yeah. He's some kind of he's in charge of uniting the different precincts, or any crime that takes place over different parts of town. That becomes his case, I guess. Multi-jurisdictional thing.
Exactly.
And so he's been promoted there. He's got a nice office. There's some comments about how nice the office is, and they find out that Taggart has retired to Phoenix. But there's a new cop named, you said Flint, I think, right?
John Flint is the new.
And he looks a lot like Taggart. It's
and it seems like they just wrote it for was that John Ashton? Is that actor to come back? Yeah. And then he just did it, and so they got somebody who looked a lot like him.
Kind of curmudgeon-y and by the book kind of guy as well.
Yep.
So yeah, it does feel like they wrote it for him. He actually kind of has the same character arc as Taggart in the first movie, where he then loosens up towards the end with Axel Foley.
Yeah.
There's a moment where Axel Foley, he's just knocking on the door for a long time, and he opens up the shade and screams. It's Axel Foley. Just it's a weird tone. I think it's supposed to be played for laughs, but it just nothing really clicks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do know what you mean. Maybe they haven't been doing their fishing trips for a while,
I know it's
maybe it's been a while.
It's been a while. Yeah, I think I guess so. Yeah, they stopped doing their fishing trips. It hasn't. It seems like they would have kept in contact after all they've been through. But
seriously,
yeah. I guess they don't have social media and cell phones, so it's harder to keep track back then.
Yeah.
All right. What else? What else do we get here? Anything else?
That was all I had from the police precinct. I think from here we head to Wonderworld.
Yeah, which is just Disneyland, basically, right?
Exactly. Yeah, they're just doing a riff on there are theme parks in Southern California, and so a big chunk of the movie takes place at this theme park that's called Wonderworld, but it's very clearly just Disneyland. He shows up at the front gate, and John Flint was supposed to call ahead and get him a meeting with his connection at the theme park, but that phone call didn't happen or whatever. He can't get into the theme park, and security comes and finds him and are kind of dicks to him, but basically make him buy his own ticket to even get into the park to try and meet up with the security at the park.
Yeah. You get a little taste of the Wonderworld. What it is. There's a character named Rufus Rabbit. There's a Uncle Dave is the Walt Disney of the park.
Yeah.
I don't know, very uninspired, I would say. The characters from this thing, just very generic, Looney Tunes-ish characters that, yeah.
Which is fine. That's not my problem with this movie. I don't need them to flush out that part of the world anymore. But
I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, it looks. It has all the fountains and the big castles, and there's a small world ride. As he's kind of poking around inside the park, he sees one of the security guards go into the corporate offices. There's a unmarked door along one side of the wall, and he just follows him in there. And there is a huge underground concrete tunnel. And a lot of the movie takes place in rooms like this.
It's like a bunker.
Yes, big time. So he walks down there, kind of just walks into this room where this woman is running the alien attack ride, and so we kind of get a little heads up. This is going to come back later, but it's basically like, I don't know. It reminded me of like a Terminator 2 ride. There's like robot aliens and moving parts. It's like one of those. I mean, more like a Universal Studios ride than a Disney World ride.
Like the concrete, it's like supposed to be in a subway tunnel or something. The concrete kind of falls down, and like a truck falls, and there's flooding and fires and all sorts of mayhem happening.
Yes,
and they actually built these rides, Chris.
Did they for this movie?
At least a few of them. Yeah, this one for sure.
Okay.
And apparently, it was part of the budgeting problems. So apparently, each one of these theme park rides that they built cost $10 million to make.
What?
Something like that, yeah. I mean, this is like a real deal looking theme park ride, the one that we're seeing here.
Yeah.
The other two, not as much, but this one's pretty intricate.
Very intricate, and the fact that they spent $10 million to make this look good for these two stupid scenes that take place there is pretty crazy to me.
Yeah, this movie had a lot of budgeting issues. They went over budget, and Eddie Murphy got paid like $15 million of this budget, and it just kept ballooning and ballooning. And I think, a lot of it went to these theme park rides because the writer, Steven D'Souza, wanted to make Die Hard in a theme park. That was his idea.
Which isn't a bad idea, but...
No, it's not a bad idea. You're right. But this isn't Die Hard. This is Beverly Hills Cop.
This is Beverly Hills Cop. Beverly Hills Cop 3.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
So he's in there. He is seen on the security camera. One of the things did you mention that when he entered this area, he saw one of the guards from the beginning of the movie that was at the shootout. So almost instantly, he just sees somebody he needs to see and follows him into this building. Then he's discovered on the security cameras, and people come to get him, and instantly there's some gunfire happening.
I wanted to talk about that, and I didn't put it together that dude that he saw was like one of the guys from the Detroit shooting.
Mm-hmm.
But even if it was, as soon as they see him, they just open fire. And it's
insane.
Just escort him out of the park. What are you guys doing?
And did they know who he is even yet?
I don't know.
You know what I mean?
Did that guy recognize him? It just seems like it's a pretty low level trespassing infraction at this point. It really, I don't know. It just took it from an investigation movie to we're already fighting the bad guys, and we're 5 minutes into the movie at this point.
I also like how I feel like there's moments that are cut, or maybe Eddie Murphy didn't feel like improvising these scenes where when he walks into the girl's office or into the alien abduction room where she's at the controls, he just kind of walks in and stands up. He's like, "What's this?" In Beverly Hills, the first two, he would have came in and had some kind of character or something, or some kind of reason to be in there and watching this. Instead, he just walks in and they're just, I don't know. He's just instantly allowed in, and it's not a big deal. And she's even attracted to him.
Right. And, this is the love interest, this woman that we meet. Yeah. And he doesn't have any sort of line, sort of explanation for why he's there.
Yeah. They don't even, I mean, that's again, a tent pole of this character. But, so back outside, there's the shootout happening, and they kind of run through the building. He gets out through, there's a whole labyrinth of the underground area coming out into different theme park rides in the park, right? So he exits at one point and is trying to hide, and he cuts somebody off in line.
He sure does.
Did you see who that was?
Yeah, even as a young man, George Lucas looks like George Lucas. But he's standing there with some woman. He's at the front of the line, and Axel cuts right to the front. And then, did you hear what George Lucas's line was after that?
No.
He just goes, "Come on, let's go." And they turn and leave. It's like, dude, you're in line for a ride. Just be the next person to get on the ride.
He's so mad about it. He just leaves. He
just up and leaves after waiting through that whole line.
I forget what the point of that was. Did he hop on this ride?
He did. It was the Spider Ferris wheel ride.
That happens already. Yeah.
And this is where this movie kind of lost me. I was on board through most of this stuff at the beginning.
Even the dance scene, you were on board.
Dancing, I don't know. I just kind of like wrote that off as
Okay.
early 90s, whatever.
Sure.
But this scene was just ridiculous. The goons show up and demand, Eddie Murphy gets in one of the cars, and it's like kind of like a gondola type ride where you go up and it spins you around. And so he gets on there, he goes up. Also, if you're running from the cops, just like don't do that, because they could just wait at the bottom for you to get off.
Yeah.
But that's not what they do. They demand that they bring him down right now, and they like fuss with the go lever on the thing, and it like completely breaks the machine.
He's like trying to get him down from the ride because Eddie Murphy hops in there, and he just starts just wrecking the levers. Like he just starts like hitting them randomly and breaks them completely to the point where
it's a child temper tantrum. Yeah,
it's really dumb. Yeah. I mean, he could have just asked the guy to stop the ride, but he instead does that. And then it goes out of control, and now it's supposedly spinning really fast, I think, although it doesn't really show it spinning really fast ever.
Right. Yeah. Maybe some of that $10 million could have gone to some better special effects in this scene, but it's spinning really fast. I also thought it was funny. At that point, they announced that it's code red on the Spider because this machine is glitching, and that makes a little light in Billy's office at the Beverly Hills PD flash.
And he's like,
that made me laugh so hard. I was like, "Oh my god, what a dumb thing!"
I guess there's a recurring joke. I guess that's part of it too, where they keep hearing things are happening at the theme park, and they just know it's Axel's up to his old shit again.
Yep. He's doing shenanigans again. So Axel's up on the ride, and meanwhile, in another car, there's a couple cute little kids, and one of them has a big stuffed animal. And with all of this commotion, their car has turned, and like these two kids are about to fall out the open door. Like they're in peril. It looks like they're, they could die. This thing's way off the ground. Shitty job building this ride. Like that door should never open. But
yes.
And Axel decides he's going to go to the rescue. So his door he just pulls it open. It just swings right open. So like, this seems like a real safety issue.
This whole scene, all of a sudden he turns into like Spider-Man or something. Where he's saving. He's like hopping from seat to seat, cage to cage, whatever it is.
Like 50 feet in the air, like way in the air, like death. You would die if you fell. And he's just like jumping from car to car as this thing is still moving.
Yep. Yeah. He's got to save the children, that's a thing that you do in these kind of movies. And somehow he gets a long piece of rope. I don't know where he got it, but
it does show him finding it at like the center beam, because there's like two things of these baskets, and he goes to the center, and there's a rope there. I don't know why there's a rope there. It doesn't really make sense, but there is.
Yeah.
And he goes to that other car. But also this part I thought was stupid. Like, just use the rope to tie the door shut. Like, what
I don't even
are you
know,
doing?
yeah.
Like, instead of doing that, he like ties the rope, lowers it to the ground. Both of the kids hold on to him. And this is like not a rope with knots or one that's easy to lower yourself down. It's like a climbing rope. And just one person's weight on that would be really difficult to down climb or whatever. And he slides down with these two children. So they're rescued. Way to go, blah, blah, blah. But the whole scene was just like, one big plot hole. It was like the dumbest.
Yeah, no, it was really bad. And as he's like going down, the car brakes.
That's right.
And like crashes down almost right on top of them. But they get out of the way. Like that made no sense either. The way it all shook out. This movie has a weird way because he's got to save the children, and like. That takes place at a theme park, all these things. There's like cutesy music always playing, and the dance scene has a way of being, but it's also very violent. And like, there's way more shooting and action and like people getting shot, I feel like, in this one than any of the other ones. And it still has like a weird, like, kiddie side of it. You know what I mean? Like
even with all that violence, it doesn't really feel violent because like It's a Small World is playing in the background.
or it just yeah, like are you making this for kids, but then it's still rated R? I don't understand. It's all
Yeah.
off. And like adults aren't going to be like they don't want to see Axel Foley just saving children like that. He's not a superhero.
Yeah.
Anyway, I had a lot of problems.
Yeah. You and me both, buddy. Yeah, and so after this boondoggle at the spider ride, he gets nabbed by security, and they bring him back into the security offices. Through all of this, Flint got called, his other cop buddy, so he's on the way. And when he gets there, they kind of show, he's claiming he was shot at in these tunnels, and he was just defending himself. And so they bring in the security camera footage, which has been wiped, and so they claim they don't have footage of him being shot at. And he's just a trespasser and a liar. And so that's kind of, there's no proof to back him up here. Yeah,
luckily,
he's already gotten in trouble.
They don't want to cause make a news story out of anything. So they don't really do anything to him. And Chris, how many times is he brought into like their back office and like
dude,
nothing
like
happens and they just let him go?
Yeah, like 7 times. Yeah, so before he gets released, there is one other character that we meet here, a guy named Ellis DeWald, and he's friends with the new cop Flint, and so part of this movie is like Flint coming to terms with this guy being a crook, but he recognizes him as the guy who shot Inspector Todd, his boss. So this is like the big bad, this Ellis DeWald guy.
In typical Axel Foley fashion, he immediately accuses him and kind of like attacks him and lunges at him at least. And is like right in his face accusing them of something.
Of murder. Yeah. Like no slow play. He refuses to slow play this. Yeah.
I do like that about him, that that's one of his other character traits, I think, is going up to whoever did something wrong and just saying like accusing them to their face rather than keeping his cards close to his chest or whatever you call it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yes. What do you think about that guy's performance, Chris?
Are we talking about Ellis DeWald?
Yeah.
I thought
he was a big bad.
I thought he was fine. He's just like a good-looking white guy, kind of like a smooth talker, schmoozer.
Is he good looking?
He's kind of a good-looking guy.
He's dressed nice. Yeah.
He wears a suit the whole time. I thought he was okay. What did you think of him?
I thought he was a little hokey, and I don't know. His performance wasn't very good, in my opinion.
Okay, that's
a little
fair.
Like, I don't know, just
I think
phoning it in.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I think I'm blaming that on just the fact that he's working at an amusement park. Like he's not really that sinister of a villain because, he's got, Amy the Aardvark in the background of all these scenes, and
that's true.
Yeah, it's kind of silly. Yeah, and then through this, we find out also that this Ellis DeWald guy is receiving a major award tonight. So they kind of plan to head there. But before they get there, we meet the actual Uncle Dave. So the Tanner mentioned before, this character is kind of based on Walt Disney, and he stops Axel on the street, and they kind of chat. Uncle Dave,
he's in his hotel room when he gets back there. He's just like,
oh, that's right. Yeah,
he's just in the hotel room. Yeah. With the woman from before, his love interest, quote unquote.
Mm-hmm. Janice is her name in this movie. Janice. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't think he ever said her name too, like, oh, hi Janice or anything. Yeah, and you also find out DeWald is he's like the head of their private security team at the place. And the award that you mentioned he's receiving is private. It's like Private Security Man of the Year or something.
Yes. And I wrote this down on the banner when you walked in. It was the 17th Annual National Association of Private Security Agencies.
It's insane.
What a stupid thing. What a stupid thing.
That is not a thing, is it? I don't know.
No, I can't imagine that's a thing. That was crazy. But it does give us an excuse to see our old buddy Serge again from Beverly Hills Cop 1. There was that kind of, vaguely European character that was working at the art gallery where Jenny
It's
worked.
Bronson Pinchot, who I mentioned I really liked from Perfect Strangers.
Yes.
Sarah, you said he was a receptionist, right?
Yes, he was at the art gallery that got shut down in Beverly Hills Cop 1. But what's he up to now here?
He is selling just weapons. He's an arms dealer now, I think. But
yeah, like boutique arms. Yeah.
If you weren't lost in the movie yet, this one would have done it, I think.
Absolutely.
So, okay. Before we get into this real quick, there was a note that when he was talking to Uncle Dave, he showed him this note that somebody named Roger left that said, "This is important, life or death, Roger." Did you understand that clue or connection at all?
I didn't understand it at this point. They come back and hit it pretty hard at the end.
What happened to Roger?
We never meet Roger.
So who? Yeah, okay. Well, maybe we'll talk about it. I know how it ends up, but I don't understand who Roger was. This guy disappeared.
He must have gotten killed at one point. Was what I was thinking. But the real reason, like, we are getting to see this paper now is they need us to know that Uncle Dave doesn't really trust Ellis DeWald. He's on Team Axel.
Okay. Yeah, I guess you're right.
But yeah, I don't think we ever meet Roger. I was very confused where that piece of paper came from when it popped up later in the movie, because I didn't really remember that happening during this scene.
Yeah, it's one of those, like we talked about last week with the bread crumbs. There's like one clue leads you here, then to there, and then to there.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're going to this convention now, and as you mentioned, Surge is there, selling futuristic weapons, and I don't even understand what this is all about. So this secretary guy now sells like the most insane futuristic weapons that I've ever seen in my life. And he's still kind of fashionable. And he says the 3 P's of his shop or whatever is protection, prestige, and pretty. So can you help me explain what's going on here, Chris?
It is mind blowing. Yeah. I mean, at the 17th annual National Association of Private Security Agencies, there's like a gala dinner. And then also there's like a showroom where people have tables set up and you can go around. And Serge has one where he's selling his 3P weapons. And the first one that we get to see that he's trying to sell in this convention center setting is like a little keychain that just flashes a bright light.
Yeah.
Right? Like
it's called the Stunner. And he explains it as like this cute little keychain. And when somebody tries in a potential carjacking, you can say, "Oh, hold on a second. Like, let me just disconnect my keys from the keychain to give it to you, Mr. Carjacker." And then it flashes like a flashbang in your eyes.
Yes.
And blinds the guy, which is it's crazy.
But it gets way crazier. He gives them 2 of these things, so they're going to pop back up later. But then the main event in his little stand is this machine called the Annihilator 2000. And did you catch all the things that this thing can do?
Some of them, yeah. So it starts with an ad. It's like being promoted by like babes in bikinis, and like they have this giant futuristic like machine gun looking thing. I mean, it's huge.
It is enormous. It is huge. Yeah. Yes.
And it's got everything from a microwave. It has a microwave installed on it, a CD player, a video recording device, boombox. I don't even know. It shoots rockets, bullets, plays the radio. Anything else?
I also got cell phone, fax machine, night vision, verbal alarm system, and something called a microprocessor. Whatever that's supposed to mean to you, let that mean that.
That's just like it's processing unit. It's like a computer.
Sure. Okay, fair enough.
But I don't know what it does.
They were selling it like an extra feature, like it has a mic. Yeah, so I don't know. So it's this just insane giant like bazooka that has all these crazy little doohickeys and bells and whistles.
Comically, like this, maybe trying to be like a satire, like a RoboCop style satire here or something, right? that just did not hit the mark at all.
Yeah, no, not at all. And I thought when I was watching it through, I was like, okay, they're just doing comic relief here. Like, this isn't going to come back. But
this whole thing is bad joke jazz too. Like
this is yes.
Surge like riffing and talking here. It's just him. I wish I could recreate it. You just have to see it. But yeah, he's just constantly saying random little jokes. He's just kind of riffing and saying things. It's very bad joke jazz.
Yes.
Yeah.
They even redo the Axel going, "Get the fuck out of here," and him going, "No, I cannot." It's like the same. Yeah. But
it's a callback cameo in one of the worst ways, and just like, why take that guy? I mean, you could have him in the movie if you want him like as a character again, but now he's an arms dealer.
Have him work at the amusement park. Like, he could just have been the guy. He could have been the guy selling tickets. You know what I mean? Like, why does he have to be here? Yeah.
Or like, if they wanted to show him maybe like being successful now, but they could have done anything else but this. Why this? Just an excuse for at the end he gets to use this gun.
Right.
And yeah, we'll talk about that then.
Oh, we will certainly talk about that scene. That scene is very stupid. Yeah. So anyway, back to the gala. Again, in case you had forgotten, we are at the 17th annual National Association of Private Security Agencies, prestigious event. And Ellis DeWald is getting that Man of the Year award that we mentioned before. And so he says a little speechy thing. And before security can stop Axel is on the stage with the mic in his hand, talking about Ellis DeWald.
Yeah, he's like clapping and yelling, sort of doing an Axel Foleyism, but not really. There's not really like I don't even know what his purpose of doing all this is. But he gets up there and starts talking about him, and then ends up just punching him in front of everybody.
Yes.
What was the point of any of this?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, Tanner. You could say that about this scene, or you could say it about the whole movie, and I still am going to tell you that I don't know.
Also, another thing that didn't make any sense in this is like, well, Judge Reinhold is with him during this, just kind of at his side, not really getting to do too much, but Rosewood is there. When Axel ends up getting on stage, he like hides behind a plant, right? At one point. So he's like out of the mess. He's not up there when he punches the bad guy on stage. But then they both get arrested and thrown in jail. And I don't think, why did Rosewood get arrested? He was like in the back of the room, completely away from anything. And then he's not let out of jail when Axel Foley is released. He has to stay there. Yeah. And he never did anything.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be a joke, right?
Because who's coordinating all the jurisdictions, Tanner? The jurisdictions are going uncoordinated.
Yeah. Anything else on any of that?
No. Yeah. So like Tanner mentioned, Foley gets bailed out. Flint kind of comes and helps him out. Andy has good news because they found the truck. So that truck from the shootout in the warehouse at the very beginning of the movie was found on Santa Monica Pier. And so they head out there to find the truck. And it's been... actually, I apologize. We don't get to that part now. We just know that the truck's there. But Axel gets let out, and he has to go talk to the feds. So it's the same dude that met him on the street in Detroit. And again, Foley's kind of fucking up their flow. So he gives him a plane ticket to get out of town. Also a trope in these movies. I feel like this has happened 18 times by now.
You got to leave the city limits or else.
Yes.
The city limits.
You won't be able to get back into LA once we escort you out.
A lot of jurisdiction-based plots in this movie. Or in this trilogy. As you mentioned, they're going to go to this the van that they found, and they're going to go. They've got a whole team, a whole unit on it. Judge Reinhold's kind of spearheading this, and he's got a hat on for his new position, and it's DDOJSIOC. It has all those letters on it. I wrote down the letters.
Thank you.
I didn't write down what it actually stood for because I missed it earlier in the movie, but. That's another joke that he's got this just ridiculous title. And they show up to this van on the beach with a whole team of people, open the back, and there's nothing in it.
Wah, wah, wah.
So,
which was totally expected, right? Why would there
It
be
was.
anybody in it?
I don't know why do they have a SWAT team? If there's stuff in
Yeah,
it, are they expecting like people with guns inside of it?
I don't know. It sure seemed like it because they did show up with the SWAT team.
Yeah, and
But
that was supposed
yeah,
to be a joke too. I think like, oh, it's empty. Wah, wah.
hmm yeah. It's empty, but they do find fibers and they find sand. And there's a strange corner of like a piece of paper that looks like it might be from a $50 bill. And so Axel and Billy kind of go back a little bit forth on that.
Yeah, he like
Um,
asked them for a $50 bill, and they look. I didn't understand that at all. You're saying that they found just a little corner of a $50 bill and were able to determine.
Yeah, my
something?
understanding through this scene was like if you look at the $50 bill, there's like in the paper, there's like something printed on it. And they found a piece of paper that had that thing printed on it, but it wasn't painted like a dollar bill yet.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But they didn't explain it very well. So that's my interpretation of that scene. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so now I don't know if they were clued into it before, but now they're clued into the fact that, okay, this is about money, it's not about drugs. They're like printing fake money. And that's kind of the scheme that's happening here, right?
Yeah. I don't know if we know that for sure yet, but that certainly is the scheme, and we're about to get the rest of the evidence that we need. Because this plot be moving. This plot be moving.
The plot is moving. The next scene here, it starts off with a carnival version of Axel F, the theme song, but in like a carnival version.
They did a bunch of those in this movie. Did you notice that?
I was gonna say they remixed it like 5 or 6 times in different styles, I guess.
Yes.
Which was interesting.
There's like an
I also
elevator
noticed,
version, and they really did the whole thing.
and there's on the soundtrack they like remixed the song into this like jock jams style, like early 90s upbeat house song.
Yeah.
And it's not great. They just added like it sounds like a jock jam song, you know.
They added probably an extra $2 million to the budget when they could have just played the original song every time. And I would have probably liked it more. I probably would have preferred it. Yeah.
Yeah. So Eddie Murphy dresses up. This is one of the few times he actually pretends to be something else, although it's not really, he doesn't utilize any of those moments that much, but he dresses up as one of the, what am I looking for? Mascots. The Okie Dokie Elephant, who does the Okie Dokie Shuffle. And we know this because Judge Reinhold asked earlier if Uncle Dave had done the Okie Dokie Shuffle. It must be, you know, it's like, oh, this is like a thing everyone knows, you know.
Yeah.
Was it the shuffle? Maybe it was something else.
No, I think you're right. Okie Dokie Shuffle.
Yeah, so he's in costume. There's a quick scene with like this little kid, these 2 little kids who are like, I love you, Okie Dokie. And one of them asks him to do the shuffle, and he does it wrong, even though to me it looked exactly like how the kid did it. And then
Kids are stupid.
He ends up pushing this kid in a fountain and running away. It was another moment where it just seemed like, is this made for kids? What are they doing here? Like, they have a lot of like kiddie moments. You know, like we talked about Ghostbusters 2 being like kiddified and like having a bunch of moments like that. But this is a rated R movie doing a similar thing where they try to add all these like kiddie jokes to it.
Yeah.
But there's like people just being murdered left and right. Anyways. Yeah, we get a little peek into the mascot work life. They're all playing cards in costume with their hats
with
on,
their
even.
heads on. Yeah, with these giant things you can't see out of. They're still playing poker. Yeah, and he pops down there. You know, he plays it off like he's the normal guy, and then he links back up with Janice.
Yeah, he's kind of he's in this costume for a little bit, and he goes to like some door that he can't get in or something, and then he's out of costume, just like that, right?
Yes.
Just to throw off the security cameras, I guess.
Yeah, I think he doesn't want to get spotted again, right? Because he's clearly not supposed to be at Wonderworld at this point. He does meet up with Janice and gets plans and finds out that the Happy Forest ride is closed. And like, if there's anywhere where Ellis DeWald can be without cameras, it's probably there in this under construction ride. And they get they flirt on. Also
I was going to say there's a little bit of flirting going on in this scene, but he doesn't really pick up on it. it doesn't seem like in the moment, because he's just like, let's just talk about the case. But then he does ask her out.
Yeah.
And I think this is the first time he asks her out or asks anyone out in a movie or has any like love interest happening in any of these 3 movies, right?
Totally. And I don't know. That Jenny girl in the first movie was super cute. I thought that was going to be the love interest, but they just didn't do that.
Well, there's a theory that he may have already had a love interest.
It's just, yeah. Uh-huh.
I think we talked a little bit about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
What did he say?
One of our friends pointed out to us that Mickey in the first movie, the guy who got shot, some people think that might be his boyfriend. Which would explain these other things, but who knows? In this one, he has a lady love interest, and her name is Janice.
Hopefully, they address it in the new movie, XLF.
I doubt they will, but maybe. You never
know. All right. So the next thing that happens, I do believe, is he gets like a map of the area, and then he enters an air duct.
Yep.
And uses the map to navigate it, which
this is so Die Hard, and
oh my god,
I love that the same writer did it. It makes a lot more sense to me knowing that it's the same writer, because it's
he loves air ducts. That's like his big.
Can't say I blame him. It's a nice story device.
It's his fifth character is the air duct.
It's the air duct.
He follows it and he finds the area where they're making this fake money.
Yes.
And another really silly moment happens where he's kind of overlooking it from up top somewhere, and he is seen in a mirror by the bad guys. And so they just see his reflection in the mirror, and he's caught again, right?
Yes. Yes.
And it's tussle time.
Yep. Time for a quick fist fight. And anything else? Oh, yeah. He escapes again. He punches a couple guys in the face, jumps on the light, and swings down.
Yeah.
And
so
then,
he does like more like kind of superhero-y shit, like he had that whole rescue scene, but they also changed the Axel F song in this scene and like use it a few more times where it's very like it sounds like the Superman theme song but in Axel F. Like they really made it like this epic hero sounding song, which just seems like I don't know, they're trying to make it something it's not. Anyways.
Anyway, why mess with the original? You get to use that song. It's a great song. I don't know that you need to make 50 different versions of it, but so he gets he manages to escape this room and runs out into the park again. He uses a payphone to call the feds, and he tells them, "Yo, I know I've got all the proof you need to prove that this is going on," but he's interrupted by a gunshot again. Like, why are they shooting guns at an amusement park? They're real quick to go straight to gunshots.
It's crazy.
Yeah. And
it's in broad daylight too, so it's like a very crowded park, broad daylight. He gets out there and calls the FBI guy and gets like shot at right in the, like you said, in the middle of a crowd in broad daylight.
Surrounded by children, right? This isn't just some crowd either. This is paying children.
But nobody notices it because it's got a silencer on it or something.
Yeah.
There was also kind of another scene that was played for comedy where he exited during this song and dance for it's like the theme parks. All the characters are up dancing, and he kind of exits out of this house randomly and dances off stage, and it's another quick little dance scene for comedic effect.
Yeah.
I was laughing,
rolling on the floor. I bet. Are you still laughing about it?
I'm still laughing about it.
Yeah, nothing funnier than a dance. So anyway, he's in the park now. He hides on the carousel for a hot minute. This is what Tanner was talking about. Like, Flint gets called in again, and Foley gets surrounded and shoots his gun in the air before he gets apprehended. And
why did he do that?
I don't know. I don't understand this.
There's they're kind of surrounding him, and he's like feeling cornered, although it's in a very public area. And there happens to be this guy just randomly filming right there, like looking right at him, but it has nothing to do. Like some guy, like a customer with like a video camera, right?
Yeah.
Why? What is he doing? I assume he was just there, like filming his family, like ride the rides or something.
Not showing his family though. We
But
don't meet that guy's family. Yeah. No, I don't
I
know.
was
He's
trying to
just
think of the reason that then he sees this guy filming and he's like, all right, I'm going to shoot my gun into the air and then put my gun down softly like it's all good. Um, yeah, I don't understand his thinking or motivations behind doing all that.
I don't either. We see that video footage later in the movie, so maybe
Yeah.
they're like reverse engineered that. You know what I mean? Um, but I don't
No.
know. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
don't know.
I
Um,
don't know.
I don't know. So he gets caught again
Uh
and he
huh.
goes back into the main room
Back into the bunker. Yeah.
and accuses them again of making fake money. And the FBI guy shows up because he had just called him.
Yep.
So now he's like, all right, now prove it. Take us to this room and we'll see what happens. And when they get to the money printing room, it's just printing Wonder World bucks. So like in park currency.
Yep.
And it's like, sorry, Axel, you're going crazy here. You're just seeing things. This is just, yeah, they're making fake currency for the theme park.
Yep.
Like if it was a modern day movie, they'd probably be making like a Wonder World coin, like a Bitcoin kind of style thing.
Ooh. Pump and dump, baby. Ride that thing to the moon. um,
Um,
yeah, but
yeah,
the feds are pissed because their operation is blown, and basically he says, "All right, it's time to take him to the airport." And so Flint drives him to the airport, and Axel notices that they have a tail, but instead of going to the airport, he jumps out and runs away.
yeah. This was maybe an Axel Foley moment where he's just like, "Oh my god, we gotta stop, slow down, He like creates a big he like gets in a big fuss about something and the
Yes,
cop doesn't understand what he's doing, so he slows down and then he just hops out and runs away.
yes,
And Flint during the scene also tells him like, you kind of blew my retirement plan, which I guess the goal for him was to become a cop at this theme park or like a security guard because this is like the best security team in town. Did you catch any of that?
yeah. And I can't say that I can explain it any better than what you've
Okay.
got. That was my reading of that scene too. Not super clear, but Flint is not happy with him at this point. He pissed him off, and Flint is still friends with Ellis DeWald, and he kind of thinks that Axel's just out here making a mess.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, so the next thing that happens is he calls Uncle Dave. So Uncle Dave shows up at night. They bring out this note that we talked about earlier, "This is life or death" from Roger. And somehow they notice, they look closely on it, and it's got like the little barcode of a fake money thing,
Yep.
a fake dollar bill or fake $50
A
bill, right?
of fake money. No, that was a great way to explain it. Yeah, it's that same fake money. So like, their cover of just printing Wonder World bucks is kind of blown because they have real like US tender paper. So like, why would you need that fancy ass paper if you're just printing Wonder World bucks?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, the main guy, what's the main bad guy's name again?
Ellis DeWald.
Ellis DeWald and his goons show up on the street. They followed Uncle Dave to this meeting because they knew, they said, we knew you'd call Uncle Dave, so we followed him.
Mm-hmm.
And they end up shooting Uncle Dave and Axel Foley
with Axel's gun.
And they're going to frame him for murdering him, and they do that. But then Axel like kind of switches gears, and like gets them in a headlock, and instead like is able to get away with Uncle Dave's body and take him to the hospital. So he ends up not dying. But you think maybe that he's gonna. You don't know if he's gonna die or not. But that's not really the point. The point is now he's being framed for murder.
Yes.
Yeah.
Even though again, like they could just like move where they're doing the counterfeiting, or they could just like lock him out of the park.
They could have killed Axel Foley right here in the street.
Yeah, they could have just killed Axel. Like there's a bunch of other ways they could have handled this. It's bad henchmanship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So now he's wanted by the police, and he's kind of wandering around town. He goes to like I don't even know what this place is. It's like a bar, I guess, but it's more like a country club.
Yeah.
Or maybe I'm getting ahead of myself.
No. That's about it. And to use the phone there.
Yeah, he uses the phone, and then his story shows up on TV, and they show the video of him shooting into the sky, and they say he killed Uncle Dave, and everyone's so sad. Uncle Dave was such a legend in this town.
Mm-hmm. Do you think here? I have a question for you, Tanner. Do you know how Walt Disney froze his brain so he could like come back if they ever figured that out? Do you think Uncle Dave did the same thing?
I hope so.
Okay.
I don't want to live in a world without Uncle Dave in it.
Do you think Uncle Dave has the same, like, I don't know, shall we call them like racial issues that Walt Disney has?
It's never addressed, but
it's never directly addressed.
He looks like he would be, yes.
Okay. He is pretty cool with Axel. I'll give him that. So
yeah, that's true.
It's not nothing. So Axel calls Janice, but somehow Ellis DeWald is already there. So like Ellis DeWald, I guess there's time. He went to the hospital and then he went to the payphone. But in that time, Ellis DeWald got all the way back to Janice's office and he takes the call. So they basically tell Axel that he has to bring that scrap of evidence. That's the only evidence that he has that they actually have like a legit counterfeiting operation going on, and he needs to come to the park that night. Or they're going to kill Janice.
Oh no, not Janice.
No.
I think that was the first time he even learned her name, but no, not Janice.
Honestly, might have been, yeah.
And then so he walks out of this nice bar wherever they were. They all turn around. They had seen him walk in, and he's gone already. Once they see him on the news. But outside, he acts as a valet without saying anything. He kind of just walks up and takes the next car that somebody just gives them their keys. And that was another missed opportunity for an Axel Foley moment, don't you think?
Yeah, definitely. He just got the keys and drove away. Yeah,
I feel like his Axel Foley moments in this movie have been just reduced to people just giving him things, and like we took out the conversation part of it all.
Yeah, or like he doesn't correct them when they give him a free car. Yeah.
Yeah, instead of in the other movies where he'd talk around something and that was the whole point of this until he got what he wanted, he just does it non-verbally now. He doesn't even need to say anything.
He's gotten so good. His cons are non-verbal. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Oh my gosh.
So he takes this sports car, and now he has a stolen car. And he goes to see Surge and to get this large weapon.
Mm-hmm.
And there's
the Annihilator 2000.
This is what he needs to finish the job. Obviously, he can't just do it with normal guns, or I don't know. But he needs this giant gun. What happened to his gun? Did somebody take his gun away? That might be a reason.
I think he lost his gun, right? Because they shot Uncle Dave with it, and I think it got like thrown into the street or something.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, I don't think he does have a gun at this point. So he did need a gun. He didn't need
because
gun.
When he drives away with Uncle Dave in the car, he's like pointing a gun at the guy. That's why he's able to get out of the situation.
Oh, maybe
he has a gun on him.
Maybe you're right. Yeah.
Anyway, okay. I don't know, but he goes and gets the Future 2000. What is this gun called?
It's called the Annihilator 2000. Yep.
So dumb. And he gets this large weapon. He then uses. All I have is that he uses that keychain thing. I forget how that.
He takes the Annihilator. He throws it over the fence into the park, right? Because they're waiting for him at the front gate. Mm-hmm. So he throws the Annihilator into the park over the fence, and then he turns himself in. And they announce there was another little funny moment here, and I wanted to know if you got it. They announce over the radio, "We've got Foley," and it shows back in because they're all in the counterfeiting room. You know, the one set that they have for the for the amusement park, and it shows on the screen what they're printing, and they're printing $1 bills. Or at least that's what's on the screen. And it just doesn't seem worth it to counterfeit a $1 bill. Like, make it at least a 5 or a 10, you know?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
what do we know about this business? We're not,
This,
we're in the podcasting business, not the counterfeit money business.
I mean, I bet we'd make more money, Tanner.
Yeah,
Let's
it's
be
all
real.
fake money though.
We'll switch it up. Yeah. But yeah, right after that, Axel uses, just like you said, that flash keychain thing that he got from Serge at the very beginning. And at this point, because then he uses it, he punches a couple guys and runs away. Even one of the other cops there is like, again, and like rolls his eyes at it. And it's like,
I
yeah,
know.
this is like the fifth fucking time he's gotten caught at the park and just like punched
He's
a couple dudes to
in the
escape.
control room or in the office room or
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Rosewood shows up right at the last second of all this, and now all three of them, the girl gets in on it a little bit too. She like punches a guy, and there's kind of a little three-way fist fight. Everyone's fighting in here.
Yep.
And Rosewood and Janice.
Yep.
Janice.
Nailed
it. Get locked in like this little room with the mainframe controller. Another part of this movie that doesn't make any sense.
Correct.
So like a bulletproof glass thing comes down, and this room starts filling up with like cold air, right?
Yes.
So it's like turns freezing cold in here, and there's like this goes on throughout the rest, like almost through the end of the movie, because, or at least the next like 10 minutes of the movie. They're trapped in here, and apparently this is like a fail safe. So if there's a fire around here, it gets cold to like protect the mainframe. Is that what you got from this?
That's what I got from that. But yeah, this cold air, it's also smoke for no reason, just so it like looks a little scarier.
Yeah.
But it fills this room with like cold smoke, and it's so cold that like we're supposed to be worried about their well-being. You know what I mean? It's like this is turning this into like Sub-Zero, frostbite, death style like situation in this thing for Janice and Billy, which is insane. There's
a lot of insane parts about it, but also like it's kind of Eddie Murphy or Axel Foley goes off and starts fighting guys one by one. There's just tons of murder in the streets, and it keeps cutting back to this room where they're trying to figure out how to get out of this room, and they just can't figure it out. They end up escaping from that room by just throwing a chair through the glass.
Just a chair. Yeah. Not
like,
a bullet, not a hammer, just a chair. Yeah.
I mean, why didn't they do that immediately? Like,
great question. Yeah.
It took them so long to realize, oh, we can just break this glass. I thought this was supposed to be unbreakable glass or something, but no, they just toss a chair through it and they're out.
Well, maybe it's bulletproof. It's not chair proof though, Tanner. Get yourself a nice armoire, maybe a rocker. It'll go right through that glass.
That's funny. It's its only weakness is chairs.
It's its only weakness. Exactly right.
Specifically.
Yeah.
Before that happens, Eddie Murphy's out on the street. He gets this gun. Like he's in the park and he just starts wasting people away with this. And this really like drawn out scene. He has this massive gun. It looks like a mini gun. But then there's like a CD player attached to it. And
yes.
Microwave to me is still the craziest part. But yeah, the first thing that happens is two guys confront him and he's got this massive gun and it shoots like a net and just like comedically falls to the ground and it's like a failure. And you're like, I don't really understand how any of this works. He never asks, how do I use this weapon at all? But he keeps like firing and it does different things. So it goes through all the different, amenities or whatever it is.
It plays music one time. Yeah, the net
Easy
that Tanner mentioned. Yep. But finally it shoots bullets and kills one of the dudes, and then a rocket at the end, which like blows up this nearby like shed and kills the other guy. So he does get out of it with the Annihilator 2000. But the other thing I wanted to talk about from this scene, like the way they shoot the scene, it's like the two dudes like shoot like, I don't know, 10 rounds at him. And he's like ducking, and then he pops up and shoots the thing. But what he's ducking behind is like a slatted wood bench. Like bullets would go right through that. Like he is not hiding behind anything that will stop a bullet. But he's totally fine. You know,
And
they're
they're
20 feet away, just like emptying their clip into him. But he's hiding. You know, it shows him crouching down, and so everything's fine.
it's so drawn out, this scene, and like the guys are like, yeah, they start off firing and they fire a few times, but then they're also just like slowly creeping towards him as he's accidentally playing music or whatever, and then you know he does end up blowing them away. But they had so many chances just to shoot him.
So many. Yeah. Such a silly scene.
And that's the end of that gun. We got all our, I guess, the payoff of this gun has happened.
Yeah.
He didn't get to microwave anything. That's unfortunate.
He didn't. That is a little unfortunate. But you know, it's the Chekhov's gun thing, right? We saw it in the first act. We got to see it happen it's going to get fired in the third.
It's exactly like that.
And but it's so stupid. Both times you see it, it's stupid and distracts from whatever they're trying to do in this movie.
He does steal someone's revolver, which I guess it was established that he didn't have a gun. Even though I thought he did. So he takes their revolver, and they've got loose bullets in their pocket that he fills it up with. And he next goes into the alien attack ride, which we saw before, and there's some security guards in there trying to kill him. Although I guess they can't see him because he's behind the glass in the room. And he basically kills them with the theme park ride itself.
Yeah. Like the truck slides in and kills a guy. Like the couple guys get, you know, trapped under the cement, you know, from all the moving parts of this ride.
He goes into the ride himself and is kind of part of the chaos again, shooting bullets everywhere at him, but not hitting him. He then, in another crazy moment, there's so many like crazy moments in this movie. He uses one of the dead bodies on the ground and like hides behind him, and he does like a Weekend at Bernie's style, like he like moves his arm and he sits up and he like tells him, I think he ran upstairs.
I wrote the exact same thing. Weekend at Bernie's. He tricks dudes to go up the stairs.
And then that's the part of the ride where the flood comes down right as they're going up the stairs. So they get flooded. What an insane moment, though. The Weekend at Bernie's moment.
Yes, without a doubt.
Also, I was thinking these security guards who work at this place know nothing about the theme park at all. Or like how the ride works. Wouldn't they know that, okay, the next sequence after the thing crashes, or like they don't know how this alien abduction ride works.
Right.
Shouldn't they know
they're like shooting at the robots in it. Like they think the robots are Axel.
They think they're actually alive.
You work here. Like, you know how this goes. Axel figured it out in 20 seconds the first time he came through that door.
Have you never ridden the ride? Yeah, you should know that, okay, the ground collapses here, then the truck slides and there's fire, and then there's the flood that comes down the stairs. You should know all those things because it happens every time.
It would be like somebody at Universal Studios who works at Universal Studios getting freaked out when the shark pops up in the Jaws ride. Like, that's the level of idiocy that we're seeing from these guys.
Eaten by the shark while he's trying to attack Axel.
There was a shark in this
That would have been good.
Yeah.
That's a great comparison. So then he moves on to the next theme park ride, which is very uneventful as for a theme park ride, it seems like, but it's called Land of the Dinosaurs. And there's like dinosaurs and cavemen frozen in ice.
We should also note that in that scene before, when they were shooting and we saw the glass with the cold, they shot some bullets into just some computer and it turned on all of the rides. So even though it's the middle of the night, all of the rides are on because of bullets. They including this one. I just wanted to throw that in there, Tanner.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
So they're looking for Axel and he's, walking. This is also another really long, drawn out scene here. Really getting their money's worth from this theme park ride they built, even though it's like not exciting. This one in particular is not exciting at all. It's like a really slow, just move through like some dinosaurs. And I was wondering, do you think it's because of Jurassic Park they went with this final fight in like a
because this
dinosaur
is 94,
setting?
right?
Is that the year after? Yeah.
I would not be surprised.
We got to get dinosaurs in this one.
The kids, they love the dinosaurs.
They love the dinosaurs. They're walking
both
around.
Of our movie producer characters smoke cigarettes, Tanner. That's what I just learned about us.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
The kind of guy who greenlights this movie.
Yeah.
So they showed there's like a caveman behind ice. Basically, it's part of the theme park ride. And when all the lights turn on, one of the guards gets scared of it and starts shooting the caveman behind the ice. And I don't know, just a really silly, stupid moment.
Yep.
Axel's kind of walking around again. It's just him kind of crouching for the next like 5 minutes. He gets scared by a tiger. I guess that was supposed to be a funny moment.
Mm-hmm.
Slow and boring, not tense, is what I wrote for this scene.
Yeah. Good way to describe that.
Like the
There's
other
also
theme park ride stuff was entertaining. Like even saving the kids on that thing, stupid for what it was, but like it's kind of got this high stakes thing going on. And
yes.
then like the alien abduction thing has all this action happening in the ride, and like they kill a bunch of guys in there. But this one's just like a slow moving train.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's not an exciting ride. I can tell you that.
Oh, I'm certainly on board with that. And it's like they set it at night, and so it's really poorly lit. So I wonder how much money they spent on this, because I bet it was 5 times as much money as they needed to spend. They could have done this scene so much cheaper. But anyway, at this point, Ellis and Axel are kind of chasing each other around in here. So we know Ellis is in there, and we get a scene of Ellis's kind of number 2 in command, and he pops back into the printer room that we've been in like 50 times at this point. And the counterfeit printer money machine Axel changed it, so it has his face on the front, and it says, what's it say on it?
Oh, it says it's a picture of Axel and says "kiss my ass."
Yes, exactly.
So it showed him run into that room at some point earlier and like kind of laugh while like typing something, and then this is what happened. So somehow he was able to completely change what was printed on this money and got a picture of him uploaded into this old computer to print out on here in that amount of time.
Might be the most impressive thing in the whole movie.
It's insane.
It was so quick. Yeah, so quick. It is a funny sight gag, but it's ridiculous.
It's sort of a fun. I couldn't. Yeah. I hated it because it was like that would take you so long to figure all this out and like be a graphic designer. I don't know. How'd you get your picture up there?
Maybe you just had the other file on a USB drive or something. Who knows? But whole thing's kind of dumb. But anyway, that second in command guy runs out and he gets shot. But we don't know who did it, right? Because Ellis isn't in the picture. Flint isn't there. Billy's still out like fighting people in the front. Like, who shot this other cop? And that'll come back in a little bit. Axel and Ellis fight, and Axel he does get shot, but he does end up killing Ellis, and so that's kind of the end of the big bad. He gets shot on that dinosaur ride.
Yeah, and during this, it's kind of cutting between Rosewood. They just had to show him like murdering a bunch of guys, so he's out there just like killing guys, and then the new cop, the Taggart clone guy, is also killing guys out in the park. Just seems unnecessary, but they wanted to make sure he got some badass moments in there too, I guess.
Yep.
And they're all getting shot multiple times, so they all get really fucked up in this movie, like really roughed up, more so than in the other ones.
Yeah, all in the shoulder.
Or the leg. I think
the leg.
Two of them get shot in the leg, yeah.
Yeah, you might be right. But yeah, so at this point, Fulbright, the FBI agent from before, shows up and finds Axel. And I didn't know if there was any proof that he was involved, but Axel sure thinks so. And, Fulbright pulls a gun, and Axel, kind of is able to take it away from him. And Flint walks in just in time to see Axel shoot Fulbright. And so apparently he was protecting their counterfeiting operation, or he was in on it somehow. But they managed to get him too.
Yeah, and they shoot through his body and accidentally shoot the Taggart clone, the new cop guy.
Yep.
Through his body. There was like it was a really just stupid reveal at the end, because you have this big bad guy the entire time that you're following, and this guy is there, but there's no like clues that this guy was ever involved, right? Until that last second when when they showed that guy getting murdered but didn't show who killed him, I was like, oh, it's the FBI guy. I just knew
it had to be.
away.
He's the only one left. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, they don't explain what his role in all this was, and they don't really tie it back to him outside of just this reveal at the end. Yeah.
And instead of people getting arrested, everyone just dies. So there's no evidence of proof. Well, I guess there's the money printer. I guess that's the evidence. Yeah. So that's that, and then we get some wrap up at the end. Chris, do you want to tell us about the?
We get a quick scene with Uncle Dave, and he introduces a new character at the park, Axel Fox. And there's a bunch of balloons and a bunch of confetti, and everyone has like a sling around their arm because they got shot. And Janine whispers in Axel's ear something about going to the Tunnel of Love. And then as she's wheeling him away, probably to fuck him in the shadows somewhere, we get a freeze frame on Axel's face. Grinning.
He says, I don't know. I didn't know there was a Tunnel of Love here. And she's like, there's about to be. Yeah. So he's going to go down her Tunnel of Love.
Heyo. And that's the movie.
That's the movie. Yeah. Axel Fox, the new character at Wonder World, or is that what it's called?
It's called Wonder World.
The most basic ass name for a place like that.
Yep.
Uncle Dave, too. His name is Uncle Dave. That's like the cool big character, the owner of the park, Uncle Dave. Chris, what did you think?
Tanner, did you love it or did you extra love it?
Oh, is there a third choice? Yeah, this movie sucks. That's it's I don't know what else to say. It's not really in character with anything. It's just like poorly slapped together. The clues don't make any sense. There's some fun action moments, but also like too much, maybe. And it's not funny. I don't really have too much to say. I feel like we've been ripping through it a lot this whole time. But yeah, if you're asking me what I think of the movie, I did not enjoy it. I mean, I enjoyed watching it for the show. I always do, and I was like getting excited to talk to you about moments.
Yes,
I do love watching bad movies.
These dumb movies are more fun to talk about in a lot of ways. Than a fully competent one like the first one.
I was really disappointed that they didn't do the Axel Foleyisms in this one because we talked a lot about it the last two episodes, and I was hoping for more like those. What other Axel Foley moments is he gonna have? Right? How's he gonna lie his way out of this one? And he just doesn't do it at all.
Yeah.
Tell me one. I mean, there might have been one we talked about at the beginning, but I can't even remember what it was.
He said his wife. He wanted his wife's car. His wife had cheated on him, and he wanted to bring her car to the chop shop and get it chopped up. That was the only like blustery lie.
But it didn't even like. It didn't come to anything, right? He didn't. It was like immediately met with like
immediately
violence.
Turned into a shootout. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And he could have just said, "Hey, cops here," and it would have done the same thing.
Yep. Yeah. What'd you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's not a good movie. It is pretty entertaining. It's like very fast paced. They fit a lot of plot into a short amount of time. The scenes that are at the park are pretty brightly colored, but so many of the scenes at the park are not because they take place in this underground bunker region of the park. And it's just like this cycle. Instead of the breadcrumb trail, it's just like back to Wonderworld. He gets caught, he gets thrown out. Back to Wonderworld, he gets caught, he gets thrown out. Like it's that cycle. And yeah, the jokes don't really hit. I like Judge Reinhold in this movie. I like Eddie Murphy in this movie. But like the movie that's there for them to be in is just like it's like you explained it. It's like a kids movie and an R movie, and it doesn't. It just I don't know. It's not as fun as the last two.
The Reinhold and the Eddie Murphy of it all. Like I felt like Judge was like he was playing it like extra goofy in a weird way, and maybe that was just the writing and the editing and like the directing that kind of made it feel that way. But I don't know. And also Eddie Murphy just did not feel like he was in it at all. Like he
Okay.
didn't care. Right? It seems like I know that some of the trajectory of his career at the time, he had a few like bad hit or movies that didn't perform so well in the early 90s. So, in fact, one of the things was they had a large budget set, and then after the performance of his previous movie, they like lowered it to like a lower amount of money, and so they had to make cuts. And Jerry Bruckheimer got like ditched. He like got out of the whole production because of disagreements on the budget and all these things. So it seemed like to me that Eddie Murphy was just like, I just need another hit right now. Let's make a third Beverly Hills Cop. That's how this feels to me.
Okay,
like,
that's fair.
I've had a couple bombs, a couple bad hits. My career's kind of like teetering right now. I need a surefire hit.
Yeah, let's do another Beverly Hills Cop. Yeah.
It backfired like a banana in the tailpipe, though.
Ooh, there we go. There we go.
I did not write that down. That was all from the dome.
Ooh, I love it. I love it.
Any other thoughts, MVPs or beef that you want to shout out here before we talk about budget and all that?
Yeah. Is there an MVP?
That's a good question for this movie.
I don't know, because like I missed Taggart, so it's certainly not John Flint. Yeah, I think I will. I thought that the main two dudes from the last one, it was good to see them again. It was good to see them kind of joking with each other, even if some of the things that we like them joking about weren't really there. So I think, yeah, Judge Reinhold and I thought Eddie Murphy was not the problem with this movie, even if he was kind of phoning it in. I think those are going to be my MVPs. And then beef. Yeah, lots to complain about. It just didn't feel like they had a good handle on this movie. So a lot of little plot holes and stupid little things like the $1 bill on the printer, like kind of like stood out to me bigger. It's just like they should have done this different. They should have. Why are we back in the bunker? Why are they shooting at him right away? Like there were so many of those little things where it was like, that kind of took me out of the movie, I think.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I have one beef because there's so many small ones.
Totally.
How about you?
The MVP is probably going to be that gun, the Annihilator 2000.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean,
fine.
it's so insane. I'm trying to think of something that it reminds me of where it's taken to that level of just like, I don't know. It's such an extreme, crazy thing to have in this movie. And it doesn't fit at all. Like, he's not about big tech or anything like that. Like this isn't like a sequel to a RoboCop where it's like, we got to up the game with an even crazier gun. This is just a cop movie. I mean, that's what this series is. But anyway,
it kind of called back to that moment at the beginning where he's trying to get into the police department and he can't figure out I feel like they might, like that whole gun, it's just a joke about all the bells and whistles of technology. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like it's the 90s now. Look how advanced everything is.
Yes, exactly. Little did they know
we have different
would come along and end everything. Yeah.
Yeah, the big joke there with the voice box that you're talking about is like, oh, now we have these options where we can speak in different languages, and he's confused that there's so many options and it's speaking in other languages.
Yeah.
Don't you hate when you call the customer service and they make you sit through all the different language options first?
Yeah.
That's what that was supposed to
be. Some real old man on the yard energy from that kind of joke. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so the gun is my MVP just because it's so crazy and stupid, and it stood out. The beef is gonna be maybe also the gun.
Okay, because it kind of does encapsulate, I think, a lot of the things that are stupid with this movie. I think it's a great thing to point out.
I definitely think we should try to ask on the survey, what else can we add to this gun?
I wrote that in the margins on my notes. I actually had a question ready for today. Yeah, so.
Cool. Well, yeah. Do you think it deserves another sequel after seeing this?
I mean, if in 1994, if this movie had come out and been this bad, I would not have signed up my money to produce a sequel. Having said that, I am very excited to watch the brand new Axel F that came out 35 years later.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think yeah,
30 years
another
later,
direct
whatever it is.
sequel,
Yeah,
a direct sequel like right after this, it didn't warrant another one. It's like, all right, we're done with this shit. Everyone
yeah,
kind of panned it, and Eddie Murphy panned it. But a sequel way later it's a different thing.
yeah.
There it's almost more rebooting, I bet, than well, maybe not a reboot, but um yeah, times have changed. So let's see here. This movie cost $70 million to make.
Whew,
It's
that's a
definitely
spicy meatball.
more than double of the last one, and it only made $119 million at the box office.
Wow.
It sounds, we've talked about it before that they need to double their money to like make a profit, basically, from the budget,
Yep.
because of advertising or however Hollywood accounting works. So it was a big bomb. I did see it was on the list of like one of the worst action movies of the '90s.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, it's definitely bad. Maybe worse so because of the success of the first two.
Yeah.
And
It is crazy to think that they doubled the budget and this is what they got back. You know what I mean?
yeah. So yeah, I know. Like we talked about at the beginning, the theme park rides cost a lot of money, and they completely made them from scratch. But it was shot. It was shot at like a Universal theme park or something like that. I can't remember what it's called right now.
Okay.
Like the exteriors and that spider, whatever was a ride there already.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of the costs came from those theme park rides. And like I said, they lowered the budget to 55 million, and it ended up costing $70 million. Eddie Murphy took about a fourth of that budget himself.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah. Yeah. Oh, and I did want to talk about the soundtrack to this movie. That's another thing that they kind of messed up on. They It wasn't a hit, right? They had the first two movies had a bunch of hits on their soundtracks. This movie, I don't know why they didn't figure something out with it. Maybe they just tried to just get it out. This movie sucks. Don't even worry about paying for a good soundtrack.
Yeah. It had that
Yeah.
Supreme song at the beginning, or the Diana Ross.
Sure, I mean that's a classic
but
song from 30 years before.
that's also true. Yeah.
It's not like a new hit or anything.
Yeah.
They had an Easy E song. It was okay. I listened to a little bit of the soundtrack, and then, like I said, the Axel F. Jock
The
James,
remixes.
Jock James remix.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I think they lost sight of a lot of the simple pleasures that made the first two movies way more fun.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They refangled everything, and they should have left them fangled how they were fangled.
It was perfectly fangled as is. Speaking of fangling, I think. Do you want
as we often do? Yeah.
I'm good at segues. Let's talk about the milk of the week.
Yeah.
I think, unless there's anything you want to talk, final words on this movie.
I'm good for putting a pin in Beverly Hills Cop 3. Let's move on. Yeah. Yeah. Do you want to start? Do you have anything else, or should we just jump straight into that pilot?
Yeah. That's all I got. So yeah, this was a TV pilot they made in 2013 for a potential Beverly Hills Cop procedural show for CBS. They made a whole episode, and it never got picked up. Yeah, it was directed by Barry Sonnenfeld, which I thought was pretty.
Whoa, that's a big get.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of what he even did right now. I know he did like the Man in Black movies. Yeah, Addams Family, Get Shorty, stuff like that. So pretty good get there. And Eddie Murphy does reprise his role in the movie, or in the pilot, but it centers around his son, Aaron Foley, played by Brandon T. Jackson.
Is that dude in anything else?
The only thing I know is he plays Alpa Chino in Tropic Thunder.
Okay.
He's like the rapper in that movie that gets stuck out there with him.
Okay.
And his name is Al Pacino, not Al Pacino, but Al Pacino.
Thank you for clarifying. I appreciate it.
Yeah, he doesn't
Yeah.
play Al Pacino, but that would be a good role for him. Yeah, so it's got some people behind it. It's got Eddie Murphy in it, and a
Judge
couple
Reinhold
of
shows up
surprises.
too.
Yeah, Reinhold shows up at the end. But I did see that. And we'll talk specifically about it, but that they wanted Eddie Murphy to be like a recurring character, and he's like, I don't want to do that. So I think that's a huge part of why it didn't get picked up. Is like he's like, I'm okay like handing it off, but I don't want to be in it like all the time.
Yeah, which totally makes sense.
Yeah. And I think they said the test audiences loved when he was on screen, and were like, they were all about it, but didn't really care about the rest. So yeah. So let's talk about it. Where does it pick up?
Yeah, I mean, we're out in it kind of runs the pilot at least kind of runs like one of the movies. It starts in Detroit, doesn't it? And he gets brought out to LA.
Yeah.
And man, it's been like 5 days. You'll have to help me out here, and I didn't take notes on it.
There's like a drug bust scene, and he's with some chick in a car.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah. That you see, she's also like you can tell that they have a thing because he's been undercover for a long time.
Yeah.
And this is like the girl that he's interested in, but she belongs to this drug dealer or something. Or bad henchman that's like his girl. So she like they say it's a pretty quick scene, but she gets out and ends up getting murdered at this drug dealing scene, and he witnesses this guy's boots of who did it.
Just his boots though. He's hiding under a truck.
And I can't remember how it took him to Beverly Hills.
Probably some fucking towels or something. No. It was, what was it? I don't remember why it took us to Beverly Hills.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was some connection with that that brought him back up to LA, and he shows up and meets same as the first movie, he meets some new cops that he's going to be buddies with. One of them is Roy from The Office. And he kind of has like more of a, I don't know, he's kind of the Billy character sort of.
He's the Reinhold for sure. He's like playing guitar softly. He's kind of got this soft side, and like he's just a genuinely like nice cop guy.
Yep.
And then the Taggart is a girl. I didn't catch her name, but I felt like she was the Taggart role.
Definitely. I would definitely agree with that. Yeah. And so they go about investigating this drug bust gone wrong. They find out that there was a mole in this dude's like operation, and so they basically just killed everybody because they knew there was a mole, and so they were just kind of wiping out those guys. Eddie Murphy's there to kind of help out, and he's in quite a bit of the pilot. Probably, would you say about half?
Yeah, he just shows up out of nowhere randomly and like starts assisting his son with this stuff.
Yeah.
I can't remember why he was there at all, but he is.
Yep.
Kevin Pollak is in it. He's like he's like the lawyer for the Beverly Hills Police Department. He's like the guy who's, gonna play like the good antithesis or the good. He's a good guy, but like he's Axel Foley's or Aaron Foley's like nemesis because he can't get away with all his like off the book stuff because of this guy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
He's like the big boss that won't like allow him to go off book.
Yeah. So that comes up a lot, like following police procedures or just breaking the law and hoping everything goes well. But what else? I mean, I don't know. It's a pretty fun watch though. Yeah,
it's a pretty fun show, and they kept the character as, this came out 20 years after the movie we just watched. Number 3. But they went back to the old style of like the characterisms of like they both together, they like lie their way to get into this hotel room,
and into that rich person's house. Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah.
But they do that several times where he does the talking fast, circle around stuff, and they keep that character trait alive, which I was happy to see.
Yeah.
And disappointed that in the third one they didn't have. But they definitely identified that as one of the main traits, which I appreciated.
No, I totally agree. and
Yeah,
driving fast cars. You know, he has a pretty sick car that he mobs around in the whole time, and yeah, I
yeah.
don't know. Yeah, and then
At
there's
one
a
point,
little subplot with like a little family that he has to protect them, because the whole, like, there's a piece of the bad guy scheme where they put this company in this woman's name, and then they're just going to murder her and her son and collect the money for it.
yeah,
Right? Yeah.
something
So
like that. Yeah, and there's a funny moment in that scene where he does kind of a MacGyver-y thing, and he puts batteries in a microwave and sets a
yeah,
timer, and the bad guys follow him in. They go out the back of the house, and this is like 2 or 3 minutes after they leave the house that the bad guys finally get in because they had barricaded the door, and then the
yep,
batteries explode right as they happen to walk right past the microwave.
yeah.
Uh, Perfect timing on that. Um, yeah, so plot doesn't really matter, but all this, he solves the case, and now he's been at the end of the thing. He gets transferred to Beverly Hills as a Detroit Beverly Hills liaison or something.
Yeah. There's a lot of cross crime between those two jurisdictions.
Yeah, you got to have somebody in place. It's like
Yeah.
a consulate, or is that the right word?
Sure, let's roll with it.
Okay.
He's the Detroit consulate in Beverly Hills.
Yes. Every town in America has someone from their police force in every other city. So like,
yes.
there's a Seattle police officer in every major city in the US, and in Seattle there's one cop from every police district in America. You know what I'm trying to say?
It's because it's why they have all those clocks on the walls that have the different times, because the cop from London needs to look at the London clock, and the clock,
he lives on London time still too. Like
yeah.
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 So he gets transferred to Beverly Hills, and it kind of ends with Rosewood shows up as the mayor of Beverly Hills.
Dude's been moving up.
I know.
Way to go, Judge, man.
And the very end of the pilot, Eddie Murphy hands down his Lions jacket to his son, and that would have started, taking over the reins as the Beverly Hills Cop from Detroit.
Yep.
Should be called Detroit Cop, don't you think?
For real. He's not a Beverly Hills Cop. The Beverly Hills Cops try and kick him out of the city 3 times a movie. So, yeah, I don't know. What did you think of this pilot?
Yeah, I think it was kind of fun. I think it was a little bit edgier and better than most of those crime procedural shows you see on TV, like an NCIS or something.
Yeah,
I think it could have been pretty fun, and it was a little wacky, but I like the wackiness, I think.
Yeah.
Again, it kind of took a little bit more chances than some of those standard procedural types.
Yeah, it's a little sillier, no blood splatter analysis or any of that.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I don't know. And especially if it had been on CBS, I feel like it would have gotten a good budget, and they're pretty good at turning out those procedural shows. So I feel like this would have found its footing sooner or later.
It would have been better on a Fox or something, but I know CBS and Paramount are the same company, so that's
that explains it. Okay.
Yeah. But a Fox, is known for their edgier comedies and edgier shows. So I feel like, unfortunately, CBS is very mid,
Yeah. Yeah.
shows that it always makes. But yeah, that's I thought it was fun.
Do you think if they'd called it Young Sheldon Cop, it would have caught on?
Young Axel.
Young Axel.
Young Sheldon Beverly Hills Cop from Detroit.
That's the title they should have gone with.
That's almost as long as our title.
I know, right?
Chris, what did you like it?
Yeah, it's a fun watch. Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard to judge what the show would have become based on just the pilot, but the pilot, I think, was it was pretty fun, and especially watching it the same week with this movie, I think it really did do a lot of things right that the movie did wrong. And a lot of that in between space was pretty fun with the dialogue and they definitely gave each character kind of a different personality and gave them something to do, and I think it was a fun watch for one ep. I don't know that it needed to be a show, but it was fun watch this week.
Yeah. It's fun when we're in the Beverly Hills Cop mode.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to see the potential of it as a using the things that makes the franchise stand out. You know what I mean? Like the axopholisms. That's you need to have him doing those things, or else it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Or else it is just another basic cop procedural. Yeah. So that's all I got. I started playing a PlayStation 2 game, which I'm still in the middle of playing, and I'll talk about next week. So
Cool.
little teaser there. Anything else from you, Chris?
Yeah, then the big teaser next week we're watching the brand new Axel F movie that just dropped on Netflix, and yeah, I think I speak for both of us when I say we're both really looking forward to that.
Definitely.
And outside of that, yeah, just like and subscribe. Take a peek in the show notes. We're going to start next week's episode talking about a survey from this movie, Beverly Hills Cop 3, that we watched today. And so please take a look at our survey, answer some of the questions, help us make some jokes, and we'll read your stuff on the air next week when we're talking Axel F.
It's very quick and it's anonymous, and it's just it makes the show so much better hearing your guys' responses. And shout out to the people that took it this week. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
And yeah, we'll see you next week. Have a good one.